March 28, 2020. In the quiet rural town of Romance, Arkansas, deputies responded to what seemed like a routine welfare check. But hidden behind a small home, they discovered 72-year-old Charles, Chucky Hogue, lying face down in the grass, shot in the back of the head. There were no signs of forced entry, no eyewitnesses, and almost no clues. What investigators didn't know yet was that Chucky's final act of kindness would ultimately lead to his murder.
Deputy Cann and I were responding to a welfare check. Charles Hogue lived alone. There was no indication of anybody actually seeing it.
I started to knock on the door, and that's when I noticed an elderly man laying face down in the backyard.
The man lying face down on the ground was 72-year-old Charles Chucky Hogue. He had been shot in the back of the head. As deputies secured the scene, they carefully entered the house, unsure if a killer was still inside.
Go ahead and clear the rest if there's anybody from the other possible victim. Sheriff's office! Sheriff's office! Yeah. There's not there's nobody else beside the red. Sorry, there's a ring up.
As I came up to the body, he had a single gunshot wound to the back of the head. And both of his arms were folded underneath him, but coming out to one side, which meant his body didn't have a chance to catch himself when he fell, like he'd been struck from behind.
We rolled him. We wanted to rule out the possibility of suicide. We weren't able to locate any firearm, but we did locate a shell casing. And we knew at that time we had a homicide. We didn't see any signs of forced entry. The home wasn't ransacked, but Mr. Hogue's wallet, his keys, and cell phone were missing. In the kitchen was a partially eaten hamburger, French fries. That certainly suggested that maybe somebody had arrived unexpectedly at the home. Once we got into his bedroom, we noticed some 9mm pistol ammunition in a drawer, and it did match the shell casing that we found in the backyard. In the guest bathroom, I located a Bulldog brand pistol holster, but we never located any kind of pistol.
So that brought up a red flag. Where was this pistol?
At this point, investigators had no known suspects and almost no clues. But then, a break in the case. Deputies discovered an abandoned truck hidden near the crime scene. When they ran the license plate, it came back to Charles Hogue.
We get a search warrant and collect any kind of evidence that could help lead us to the suspects.
The only thing of note that did come from that search was the driver's seat was all the way in the forward position.
We knew that Charles Hogue was tall. The last person driving that vehicle was much shorter than Mr. Hogue was. The truck was now our number one piece of evidence, because it was the only thing that linked the suspects to Mr. Hogue's home.
Investigators began searching the surrounding area for surveillance cameras. Eventually, detectives located a nearby security camera that captured Charles Hogue's truck.
And we noticed in that midday time frame, Mr. Hogue's truck traveling at a high rate of speed.
It's possible it was the killer that was driving, but we were unable to see the driver. It was very frustrating. We wanted to get justice for Mr. Hogue.
With few leads to follow, investigators began contacting Charles Hogue's relatives, friends, and neighbors, hoping someone could reveal his last known movements or identify the final person who saw him alive.
And then I called a number. A female answered the phone. She identified herself as Tara Willhite.
Tara had recently been kicked out of her home after conflicts stemming from the breakdown of her relationship with her fiancé, Christopher Brown. Feeling sorry for her situation, Chucky Hogue offered Tara a place to stay.
She became audibly upset. We asked her if we could meet with her in person. We felt that she may be able to offer information about things that we saw in the home, particularly the firearm that we were searching for.
When I found out that Chucky had been shot and that he wasn't with us anymore, I went into complete shutdown mode. I was devastated. Detective Biviano asked if he had any known enemies. He didn't. He was friends with everybody. Charles Chucky Hogue was a salt of the earth type of fellow. He was raised in Santa Ana, Texas, and he went off and joined the Navy. He's a Vietnam vet. He retired after many, many years of truck driving, and he married the love of his life, which ended up being my mom. He loved her inside and out. After Mom passed, he was very lonely. He loved being around my family. He loved just being included in everything.
Everything's been a little bit crazy, but we appreciate you coming in. So, starting from the day, that you first met Mr. Hogue.
You said it was Sunday, March the 15th.
Yes.
Is that lunch?
I was headed, I guess, towards town, and he stopped and asked if I needed a ride. He had given me his name, asked if I had somewhere to go, and I told him no. And he offered to let me stay at his
How long did you stay total?
through the time.
I guess you didn't have a place to stay at the time due to other family-related things. Okay.
Tara had roughly stayed with Mr. Hogue in the time frame of the days leading up to his death. She had been kicked out of her home, and some of that conflict arose from a relationship breakdown with her fiance, Chris Brown.
And prior to this, you never knew.
Prior to this, I had not known who he was.
And of course, he was an older man. His wife passed away. I think he was just kind of lonely. He enjoyed having your company.
Yeah, I think so. But, Chucky seemed like the type that needed somebody to talk to.
Seemed like he was lonely old man. That's the way she put it. Just wanted some attention.
We thought maybe a person might be able to take advantage of Mr. Hogue and exploit his loneliness after his wife died.
Did you see at any time in his vehicle on his person a pistol?
The only time I saw the pistol was in the house.
When was the first time you saw it?
It was in a holster on the dresser right beside the TV
In his
in his bedroom. I just asked him, can he put it up? Because I had a lot of buddies commit suicide. Pistols are not something I'm
Just not real comfortable with.
not comfortable. Yeah. I didn't see where he put it, and he didn't tell me.
And that confirmed that he had a handgun in the house that had been stolen from his residence. So we were confident that was used to kill Mr. Hogue.
When detectives brought Christopher Brown into the conversation, the investigation suddenly took a very different turn.
We were talking on the phone the other day. You mentioned that your fiance, Chris Brown, that he came out
They picked him up.
and what was the circumstances of y'all picking him up?
We were trying to work things out. It wasn't something I wanted to do. Because Christopher is very jealous and controlling. I had asked Chucky if we could go get Chris. Chucky said that was fine, and we ended up him just spending the night.
How's Chris's demeanor and temper?
His temper is very bad.
Did he get upset with you at all for staying with Chucky?
Chris got upset with me over everything. Yeah.
Did he get violent with you or anybody else? And you don't have to go into detail.
Yeah.
This is a tough question. Do you think Chris could have had anything to do with what happened to Chucky?
As detectives continued applying pressure during the investigation, attention quickly shifted toward Tara's ex-boyfriend, Christopher Brown, a man they now believed could be directly connected to Chucky Hogue's murder. Tara brings in another person in the investigation, who she claims as Chucky's girlfriend.
Chucky was found on that Saturday morning. Do you remember anything odd or strange about Chris's behavior on that weekend? Anything?
Honestly, I don't know.
I really need to know. Did he first say anything specific about Chucky, directing any anger towards you staying with Chucky?
He was angry because I was staying with somebody I didn't know.
Have you ever seen Chris with a gun?
I haven't seen him.
How tall is Chris?
A little bit taller than me, honestly, like 5'6".
About 5'6". Right. Anybody that you can think of, even your gut telling you, I'm suspicious of this person. I'm worried this person may have had something to do with this.
His girlfriend called that morning.
And I know that was something we talked about the other day, that Chucky had met this female online, right? She supposedly lives in Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania was coming the week of the 25th, and I mean, it just all seemed fishy to me.
Okay. And she was a Vietnamese.
Vietnamese, her accent was very thick.
Okay.
I remember him saying that he had sent her $300 to make sure she had the gas.
Did he normally talk to her through Facebook? So
Did have her cell phone number. But as far as I know, Chucky did most of his socializing with her through Facebook.
Then came the drug allegations. Tara claimed Chucky was dealing narcotics, but detectives weren't convinced.
Back to that Monday, Chucky making phone calls, receiving phone calls.
Someone called on that date. If I remember correctly, the guy came out of the vaccine and you bought some weed from Chucky.
okay. How did you know that Chucky had sold him some pot?
Because Chucky mentioned it to me when he was cooking dinner. And that's when he had mentioned that he sold pot. So, cocaine and meth. And if I knew anybody that needed him, and then
She was making Mr. Hogue out to be some sort of a drug dealer in Romance, Arkansas, and it did not fit with what we knew about Mr. Hogue.
And it definitely started to shift our viewpoint on the information that she was giving us. We didn't know if some of the things she was saying was fully true.
there were quite a few people sleeping on his property.
You were in. We don't.
He mentioned that he was sorry his girlfriend was found.
Anything else?
But I didn't think that. So gut feeling girlfriend, but I wouldn't put anything past her. And that, to be completely and fully honest with you.
After Tara claimed Chucky was involved in drug dealing, detectives reviewed Charles Hogue's autopsy, phone records, and social media activity. And what they discovered completely changed the direction of the case.
In Mr. Hogue's autopsy, we weren't able to find any evidence to suggest that Mr. Hogue was trafficking any narcotics. His drug screen was completely clear. It started to put some things that Tara had stated in a new light.
We had subpoenaed Mr. Hogue's phone records and social media records as well. We found no records to indicate he was speaking with anyone on Facebook Messenger in Pennsylvania. At that point, it's very fathomable that everything she's told us today is not true.
Detective Ellis and I were starting to build our suspicions. Why would you lie to us when all we're trying to do is get your help to solve a murder?
After reviewing all the evidence, detectives became convinced that Tara knew far more than she was admitting. Believing she was hiding critical details about the murder, investigators brought her back in for a second interview.
She had told so many different stories. It seemed like she was trying to point anywhere other than her as far as what could have happened to Mr. Hogue.
We were going to have to start putting the pressure on her.
There's a couple things I want to go through to make sure we get on the same page.
I will tell you whatever you know. I have nothing.
Hear about Chucky drug use. Would it surprise you to know that in his autopsy on toxicology, he had absolutely zero traces of narcotics whatsoever?
Well, that would surprise me because I talked with Chucky Sunday,
He had zero. That's what we're not.
and now that just makes me look like a fool.
We didn't have the autopsy first off, so I couldn't ask you.
Well, I can't tell you what is and what ain't, but I know for a fact that's put me on Sunday.
Nobody can argue with toxicology.
I can't either.
That's my thing.
She's kind of pulled her hat down over her face a little bit. We're losing that eye contact that we had with her in the first interview. Now, she doesn't even want to look at us.
You could tell she was kind of starting to feel like they're on to me now.
Let's go on to Chucky's girlfriend. There's absolutely no record of her talking to anybody in Pennsylvania on his phone.
Then why did you tell me?
He absolutely had no FaceTime conversations, absolutely had no messenger conversations.
Well, he was on the phone. He told me it was his girlfriend, and she was it.
My point is, as we come into this conversation, I want you to know we've done our homework.
Where?
Can I tell you my theory that I share that with you? Chucky has a nice thing. So I think somebody who saw all these things, stole his gun, maybe even had a rough plan to rob him, and in the process of doing that, that's it.
I don't know what to tell you.
One of my theories is someone Mr. Hogue knew and trusted to be in his house, come up behind him and shot him in his backyard.
The perpetrators in these cases are oftentimes addicts, and the only thing they're thinking about is how to get the next fix. So the nice man down the road that's helped us, they actually see somebody that they can victimize to get what they need.
What can you tell me about maybe Chris Taylor?
I don't know what he did.
You said that Tom came to his bedroom. He had an address.
I mean, we had another one that stainless steel or whatever, but that was in the old.
There, I've got a big concern. First time we talked, you said that tip, the original tip. What's the only tip? Where's the you held that information on for some reason?
No, swear to God, I did not post it for any reason.
I thought you know, it was one of those things that
She mentions a second handgun, which why did you leave that out the first time we talked? Her stories just keep growing. It became obvious that she had forgotten things she had told us in the first interview. There's a reason these things change is because they're not true.
There's something else after Chucky was killed, the truck was stolen. Right? When his truck was recovered, the driver's seat was moved all over. So whoever drove that truck last was shorter.
Y'all are thinking it's me, and you don't have to say. But I did not kill Chuck.
But I think you know who did. Or I think you know more than what's telling.
No, I don't.
And Chris is shorter, too.
I'm not pointing fingers at nobody because I don't know.
When it came to Chris, she wouldn't say, no, he didn't do it. She just blanked. I think there's also the possibility that if she names Chris, that may require her to explain more of her actions too.
That. Chris can be pussy without being pussy.
Well, I can say that whoever killed Chucky, somebody Chucky knew, somebody who knew about the guns in his house, somebody who was short enough to drive his truck based on the seat where it was.
Well,
If you're saying it's not you, then you need to.
I don't know. Honestly,
Well, I think we're going to leave it alone for today.
We were feeling more and more confident that we were on the right track, but we didn't want to push it too far. We still wanted to leave that door open for a third interview.
And from there, we went to go find Chris Brown.
Investigators then brought Christopher Brown in for an interview, hoping he would finally reveal the truth behind Chucky Hogue's murder.
Any water is healthier than yeah, water.
His personality came across as more meek, not as strong as Tara's. And I think we felt like that may be more to our advantage in the interview room.
Have you been to Chucky's house before? You haven't.
Before, stayed there.
Okay. And did she invite you to come and stay at Mr. Hogue's house?
She talked to Mr. Hogue about it. He said that's fine. I know y'all are the relationship problems.
Did you ever, at any point, ever see any handguns or pistols in the house? Okay. How about any holsters, pistol holsters, anything like that?
You can see he's got his arms crossed in front of him. He's trying to create a barrier between him and us, like a signal for him to feel more protected.
He was very nervous, very timid, just seemed scared right off the bat. He was exhibiting every sign of somebody that was guilty.
Well, I mean, you guys coming in here and talking to us is very important. It helps us just kind of figure out who's having contact with Mr. Hogue. I'm just going to lay it out on the table and ask you if you had anything to do with Mr. Hogue's.
No.
But we know that whoever did this made some mistakes. I don't know if you know this, but Mr. Hogue's truck was stolen as a part of the homicide. And they managed to get themselves caught on camera.
We really did have video of Mr. Hogue's truck. The quality of that video didn't render what we're describing here, but that is the bluff. We had to play this interrogation a little riskier. There was just a general lack of any trace or physical evidence. It just didn't exist.
How tall are you? You want to take a wild guess as far as how tall the person was that was driving Mr. Hogue's truck? He's between 5'6" and 5'7". I mean, hell, we even had the FBI come out and process that truck. So we can keep going through this, and I can paint a picture. And I'm a pretty good painter, Chris. I might be willing to consider that you guys were in a tough spot. You knew that Mr. Hogue had some nice things. Maybe the plan was just a simple theft, and things got out of hand. And this whole thing was an accident. Okay? We've got fingerprints, we've got video, we've got DNA. All I need is one drop, one cell, one eyelash. That's all I need. So is there anything at this point you'd like to talk to us about before we move forward?
Sheriff, but
Okay. Can you tell me about that?
we were in a bad situation. I was on that. We wanted to.
Okay.
Sheriff told me we need the money. We were supposed to go to grab stuff.
I don't think either of us were that surprised of his statements that Tara put him up to it. Chris didn't seem to have that personality that he wore the pants in their relationship. Tara, she's a better liar than Chris was. He just broke.
How did y'all get to the property? When you walked up to Mr. Hogue's house, what happened then?
We talked to Mr. Hogue about he was sick.
Okay. And then what happened?
I walked back in and get his bathroom to grab a few things. And
What'd you grab?
with the 45 pistol. I was trying to grab like his phone or anything like that.
Maybe something you could sell or trade or something like that. What happened after you grabbed those things?
So it's it's time to grab
Mhm.
police stepped out. He was outright. I started taking off some police bag and come here. It's been with the phone cops.
Because he saw what you had in your hand.
And it was a thing that at the same time I was holding the gun. And my finger was on the trigger and I didn't need to shoot.
He was shot in the back of the head. Did he turn to run, or did he just turn his back on you? How many times did he shoot? How close were you standing to Chucky with this guy?
I was afraid he would come.
How did y'all get in the truck?
I don't think he thought
Okay.
I got in.
It was total elation, relief. I finally felt like Mr. Hogue was going to get some justice. We had him confessing to actually pulling the trigger, but we still have no physical evidence at this point. The next important part was the murder weapon.
What did y'all do now?
I understand. Whenever y'all left the Chucky's truck there behind Midway, what happened? Sleep off. But where was the gun? I'm said and her. And when y'all got to the house, what happened? I grabbed it out of my then put it over. Look at what all went through. The police phone. Get her.
Detectives arrested Christopher Brown and charged him with capital murder in the killing of Charles Chucky Hogue. After his arrest, Christopher Brown led investigators to the murder weapon, the gun used to kill Chucky Hogue.
We found Mr. Hogue's wallet and the keys to his vehicle and a 9mm handgun.
It was a Taurus PT-111 9mm pistol that matched Mr. Hogue's Bulldog brand holster.
We were able to determine that handgun belonged to Mr. Hogue, so we knew we had the murder weapon.
With Christopher Brown in custody, investigators shifted their focus to Tara, arranging a third interview at her residence to keep her comfortable and encourage her to tell the truth.
So I told you we might kind of get caught up on everything, especially since we talked the other day. And this is Detective Warren. Detective Chris did agree to come up to the office and talk to us. I can tell you this much. Hopefully this will make you feel safer. Chris is in custody for Mr. Hogue's homicide. We got to cover some loose ends. And one of those loose ends, Chris named you as an individual that was there with at the house when it happened. And he's claiming some things against you that I'm worried puts you more than just a witness to this thing, but an active participant. But this is what's very, very important. We have footage of Chucky's truck leaving his house after the murder.
I was, but I didn't know it.
When you say you were there, what is that? You were there at the house?
Chris had me. And next thing I know, he got the gun in my back and making me get in the truck. I promise I didn't do anything.
Tara finally admitted she was present when Charles Chucky Hogue was murdered. After her confession, investigators ended the interview and brought her back into a controlled environment for further questioning.
Tara, we appreciate your cooperation so far. Okay. We want to kind of talk through everything again. You did tell me that you were there.
I was there with Chris. I was walking over to Chucky to go, you get the keys and pick up the dog. And Chris came up and startled me. And he put the gun to my side. And he said, keep walking. And we get to Chucky's. And Chucky's outside on the porch. He looks at Chris and he goes, something's wrong. And Chucky told me to go in the house and lock the doors and call the cops. And so I ran in the house and I couldn't get there fast enough. And Chris came in and said, get in the truck. And he got in and took off down the road. And he told me if I opened my mouth, he was going to kill me. That he wasn't scared to shoot. And I still didn't know what had happened at this point. I said, Chris, what did you do? And he told me he shot Chucky. And I asked him why, and he didn't have a reason. But I didn't know that he shot Chucky until we left the driveway.
But where were you actually at when he shot?
I was in the kitchen.
You were in the kitchen and you were heard the gunshot.
No, I didn't. I had my headphones. I had my music in my ears.
You're telling me you didn't hear a gunshot in a trailer with people down there?
What she was saying just didn't make any sense. He said she would put her headphones in and turn the music up. You're not going to do that unless you're trying to drown out a specific noise. We were pretty convinced at that point that she did hear or see Mr. Hogue shot. I knew she was lying, and she was very good at gaslighting.
Why didn't you just tell me this story on Wednesday?
Because I was still scared for my life.
I've got some major concerns because your story's changed quite a few times.
Do you want the truth, John?
I want the truth.
My original plan was to get Chucky to give me what Chris had planned. I don't know. We got there and Chucky told us to come in. Me and Chucky are standing in the kitchen talking, and Chris comes out the bathroom. He said, Chucky, will you send me to try? So Chucky said, okay. I got my headphones back in and turned up my music.
And you weren't supposed to be doing anything while Chucky's in the backyard. You don't want to come out of this looking cold-blooded and
No, because I didn't shoot Chucky.
But you went over there to rob him.
No, over there. And somebody.
Or take it, but
No, wait.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think you give full stories to it.
There, I think y'all went over there, tried to steal some stuff, and it went wrong. There, that's why Chris had Chucky take him to the backyard and show him that stuff. Because while he was outside distracting Chucky, you were supposed to take Chucky's wallet and steal the other stuff.
I didn't have any clue
But
what was
it's,
supposed
but it's okay. That's why you put your headphones in. You knew what was going to happen, and you didn't want to hear it.
I think you watched him walk out behind Chucky with that gun, and you knew that he was gonna shoot.
I
And you
did.
put your
Why?
No, I put it in the whole.
That's a lie. You don't understand. You put your headphones in when you walk out back. And now you're changing the car again. But then when
Detective Warren and Detective Viviano weren't quite getting Tara to the point where they needed her. So it was time for something different. And I was what they would call the bad cop. Tara needed to realize that she was looking at some serious charges if she didn't finally tell the truth. And that's where I stepped in.
Okay, so let me introduce myself. Heather Meadows. I am his boss. I am the one that decides if you walk out of here in handcuffs and get charged with capital murder. Me. No decent human beings don't want to lie. They want to get it off their chest. They want to be able to have a clear conscience.
I do, but I want to be.
What you did do that you don't want to admit because you know it makes you feel like was that you knew Chucky got shot.
I
I know you heard it. You can't, yeah. Then you have to. Is that dude scary? Yes. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. That's all I want.
One thing afterwards, and
You know what that is? That's the brain's way of dealing with trauma. Because you knew what happened was wrong and it made you feel like crap that you were there and you couldn't get away. I believe you. I believe that you went over there for a reason, most likely just for money, maybe borrow money, but when it happened,
I was in the kitchen. And I hear a ring, and I hear popping a ring. And I, what? And I hear,
She starts bawling. I mean, it finally hit her and it starts coming out. Her shoulders drop. You can see the relief on her. And it was like everything was just like whoosh. Sometimes it just takes that next step to push them right off that ledge. Now I believe. But listen to me. There's two people involved here. One of them went there knowing what they were going to do, and the other one didn't, and is either a witness or just as guilty as the person that went there because they're lying and they knew. So if you didn't know, now's the time to walk us through beginning to the end.
We did the Chucky's house, and Chucky just gotten out of the car. And I remember Chris just looking at Chucky with this evil look. And we go back, we sit in the rocking chairs in Chucky's room. And I follow up to the kitchen, and Chris comes about 2 or 3 minutes behind us. The only thing that was in Chucky's room on that dresser was his pistol. I knew that something was going to happen. And I told Chris, I said, no, don't do it. And Chris goes, Chucky, will you take me out back and show me the trap? And next thing I hear is, ow. And I put my headphones in and turned up my music and went to the trap. And Chris goes, if you tell anybody, I will kill you just like I did Chucky. It was important that Tara admit that she saw him get shot or heard him get shot. That was the final piece of evidence that was going to crack that case and give us what we need for our conviction. The next day, Chris takes the gun and goes out by the creek. Chris took everything out there.
You know what would have changed all this? If the second you got a weird inkling, you didn't say, we need to go. Did you tell Mr. Hogue something was wrong and you were worried?
I said, Chucky, don't go back there.
And he didn't say that's weird? Why did you
Don't
say
think
that?
he hurt me, because Chucky was hearing it.
After hours of questioning, Tara finally began telling detectives what really happened the night Charles Chucky Hogue was murdered. In the end, both suspects were held accountable. Christopher Brown was charged with capital murder and tampering with physical evidence, receiving a 50-year prison sentence. Tara Willhite was also charged with capital murder for her role as a co-conspirator in Chucky Hogue's killing and was sentenced to 35 years behind bars.
What I miss most about Chucky is just him being somebody to check in. Chucky was my dad. I just miss being able to talk to him and him being around my kids and my kids having that in their lives.
In the end, justice was finally served, but an innocent life was still lost.
Like, comment, and subscribe for more true crime stories that delve deep into the heart of the human experience.